An extensive list of weapons from the Division was found in the files for the beta, and let's just say it is a huge list. Now, by no means is this the final list, but we're going to dive into the weapons list in detail. Hello there, my fellow agents. What's up? It's Robbie with Overworld Games, and grab a chair because we're going to be here a while, so let's begin. And by the way, there's over 58 weapons on this list. So I've done my very best to sort these by assault rifles, light machine guns, pistols and revolvers, rifles, shotguns, sniper rifles, submachine guns, and the like. So here we go. We're going to dive into the assault rifles and machine guns first. And by the way, very special thanks to Redditors, Poet Girl, and of course, to provide context, who supplied the weapon images. So we've got the ACRE, the AK-47M or AKM, the AK-5C, and then of course the vanilla AK-47, because you can't have a Tom Clancy game without the AK-47, trust me. Now we move on to the AUG A3P, of course. I played with this a lot in Rainbow Six. Then we've got the G36. This is a go-to weapon as well for the Rainbow Six games. Especially during the time when Vegas was out. And you can't forget about the FAL. But you can't neglect the HK series of weapons. We've got the HK21. Then we've got the LVOAS. And then, of course, the classical M4. Then we move on to the MK20 SSR and the P416. Don't forget about the PW8 with the folding stock, of course. And then the SA-58. And we've got our SCAR series of weapons in the form of the MK-17 and the MK-16. And then we've got the SR-16 and SRS-A1. So it does beg the question, which is your favorite assault rifle? Of course, I think a lot of us will be going with the M4 because we're so familiar with it. But you know, it really does depend on those stats and if the weapon is rare or common. It's going to be interesting to see all of the variety out on the battlefield because I think it's going to be a ton of variety because of how random the weapon pickups will be. Now it's time to drop on by the light machine guns. We've got the L85A2, which of course can be turned into a light machine gun. And you have your vanilla version. So there's 3 different variations in the game from the get-go. And then you have the M60E4, the M60E6, and the M240B. Now we move on to the M249 and the MK46, which looks like a beast, by the way, but you can't neglect the RPK-74. Now, in the Division, I found these to be weaker weapons, of course. They were probably the least used weapons out of all of them. In fact, it was proven by beta statistics from Ubisoft Massive that light machine guns were not used that much, especially in PvP, but they are great for PvE and suppressing enemies. And you know, the Division for me turned into a sniper game. That's the thing I was not expecting about the game. I fell in love with the M1A. This was my go-to weapon in the Division. In my opinion, one of the best weapons of the beta. And maybe it will carry over that way into the full game. Who knows? But we've also got the M14, which will be a long-ranged option as well. And then you can't neglect the M44, which is a bolt-action weapon. I did have a chance to try this one as well. It was pretty powerful, but the slow rate of fire just really killed it for me. And then don't forget about the M110 and, of course, the PSL. So if you haven't had the chance to try being a sniper in the Division, I highly recommend it. You're going to be surprised. And I recommend each group to have at least one sniper in their squad. Snipers for the win. Shotguns were also surprisingly good in the Division beta. We've got the M870 MCS and then the SASG-12 and of course the Super 90. That's one that I actually did have a chance to use a lot and it was actually pretty good. And don't forget about the vanilla double-barreled shotgun. Of course, the reload penalty on this one if you miss is going to be terrible. And then we have the double-barrel sawed-off shotgun variants. Up close and personal. Ah, yes, the submachine guns. This is one of my favorite classes, and I was really worried that I would not end up using this class, because usually they're underpowered. But here we go. We've got the AK-47U, the converted SMG9, which I'm sure many of you tried out at least in the beta. The MP5, a total classic. This one, I love the look of it, the feel of it in games, but it was surprisingly sort of weak for me in the beta. Then we've got the MP7, the T821, the Tech 9, UMP, because you can't have a Tom Clancy game, again, without the UMP. And then my go-to submachine gun was the Vector 45 ACP. This one was a beast, but I did manage to obtain a more rare version of the Vector during the beta, and it was so freaking good, especially up close and personal. I even managed to survive in PvP with it as well. So you're in the middle of a firefight and you run out of ammunition for your weapon. You gotta switch to your pistol or revolver, and let's take a look at those. We've got the classic Glock, the LFP 586, the M9, the M4A1, the M1911. That, of course, I think they're probably gonna put that on a pedestal and have a spotlight on that one. As a rare weapon. I wouldn't be surprised because the M1911 is usually a weapon that is highlighted in most games, in my opinion. And then we've got the MP and P45 and the PX4 Storm, which I think is a more competitive weapon for shooting ranges. But guys, let me know, are you more for revolvers or pistols? So yeah, I am really impressed with the weapon list for Tom Clancy The Division. Again, these were found in the beta files, so by no means is this a final list. Of course, I will update you guys about any new weapon additions and stuff like that after the release of The Division. And you better believe it, I'm going to have a ton of videos during the release of the game and just support it throughout its lifetime, of course, here on Open World Games. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more Tom Clancy The Division on Open World Games, and I will see you guys in the Dark Zone. See you there.